Skull Nation, stop right now. US Bank Stadium just erupted with breaking news, and one number is already screaming: 6 turnovers. A Christmas massacre just eliminated Detroit from playoff contention. A defensive legend might be playing his final games in purple, and Brian Flores just sent a blueprint that has the entire NFL shaking. Insiders whispered it all week, and here's the first payoff. Those 6 turnovers, they match the Vikings' highest single-game total in 3 years. If you skull louder than you breathe, hit like and subscribe right now. We start with Justin Jefferson's brutal message to the Lions after playing Grinch on Christmas Day. Stay locked. There's a double cliffhanger at the end that involves Green Bay. A locker room. Cameras rolling. One question hanging in the air. What does it feel like to end someone's season when yours is already over?
The answer came from the man wearing number 18, the receiver who just broke another NFL record without even trying. The name? Justin Jefferson. And here's why his words cut deeper than any route he ran on Christmas Day. Jefferson didn't sugarcoat it. He said it out loud, with zero hesitation. The Vikings wanted to play Grinch and eliminate Detroit from playoff contention. Misery loves company, and Minnesota made sure the Lions felt every bit of it. This wasn't just a win, it was a statement wrapped in purple vengeance. Jefferson revealed the team's motivation was simple. If we're not in the dance, neither are you. That's the mindset of a team that refused to roll over despite being out of the postseason picture. The Vikings have now won 4 straight games, and Jefferson made it clear this streak isn't about pride, it's about pain.
Pain for division rivals who thought Minnesota would fold. Do you respect that mentality, or is it petty? Drop your take below. But here's the twist. Jefferson didn't shy away from. He called out his own offense. Despite the defense forcing 6 turnovers, 2 interceptions, and 4 fumble recoveries, the Vikings offense struggled to turn those gifts into points. Jefferson was blunt. This game shouldn't have been anywhere near as close as it was, and the offense has to do better at helping the defense out. That's leadership. That's accountability. When's the last time you heard a superstar publicly challenge his own unit while the defense is playing lights out? Jefferson said the defense has been dominant all year, and he's right. They sacked Jared Goff 5 times, limited Detroit to 3.6 yards per play, and turned Christmas into a nightmare for the Lions. But Jefferson knows the offense left points on the field, and he's not letting that slide. If you believe Jefferson is a top 3 receiver in the NFL right now, smash that like button and let Lions fans know who owns the North. And if you think the Vikings defense is the most dangerous unit in the NFC heading into next season, drop a comment with your boldest prediction. But as massive as Jefferson's words were, the next story cuts even deeper. Because while Jefferson was calling out the offense, one defensive legend might have been playing his final games in purple. The clock is ticking, and Viking Nation might need to say goodbye sooner than they think. Stay locked. 13 seasons, 205 games, 5 Pro Bowls, a legacy carved in purple and gold. But now, the whispers are getting louder.
The veteran who has been the heartbeat of this defense since 2012 might be running out of time. The player? Someone whose jersey hangs in closets across Minnesota. Someone who redefined what it means to be a safety in the modern NFL. The name? Harrison Smith. And here's why Viking Nation needs to savor every single snap he takes in these final 2 games. Smith is set to turn 37 on February 2nd, and the reality is starting to set in. He's admitted it himself. It's harder to go to practice, harder to get ready for each game. But don't let that fool you. Anyone who watched him against the Giants or saw him intercept Jared Goff on Christmas Day knows he still brings the intensity. Just ask Jackson Dart.
Smith has played in at least 13 games in 13 of his 14 seasons. The only exception being 2013 when a foot injury cost him 8 games. That's durability. That's iron. Since 2014, Smith has notched career highs in interceptions, earned 6 Pro Bowl trips, made 2 All-Pro teams, and compiled 1,177 total tackles, 20.5 sacks, 38 interceptions, and 4 pick sixes. That's not just a career, that's a legacy. He ranks 5th in franchise history in games played, trailing only legends like Jim Marshall, Mick Tingelhoff, Fred Cox, and Carl Eller. But here's the brutal truth. Even if Smith wants to keep playing,
the Vikings might not be able to afford him.
Minnesota is in a rough position in terms of salary cap space, and the one-year, $11 million restructured deal they gave him earlier this year might not be possible again. According to sources close to the situation, this is a rumor. Smith is taking things day by day and hasn't committed to retirement, but the financial reality is closing in. If he wants to return for a 15th season, it might have to be at a highly reduced rate, and that's a tough pill to swallow for a player who's given everything to this franchise. Do you think Harrison Smith deserves one more year in purple? Drop your answer below. And if you believe he's a Hall of Fame safety, smash that like and let the world know. After the Christmas Day win, Smith spoke with Ben Lieber and called it one of the best defensive performances as a unit he's ever been a part of.
Guys were flying around, having fun, playing with the aggressiveness that Brian Flores' scheme demands. That's the culture Smith helped build. That's the standard he set. But as the Vikings close out the season against Green Bay in Week 18, the question looms, is this the final ride? The next story answers that question in a way you won't expect. Because while Smith might be playing his last games, the architect of this defensive dominance just received a message from the NFL world that changes everything. The blueprint is out, and it's sending shockwaves. Stay locked. A Christmas miracle. 6 turnovers, 5 sacks, 3.6 yards per play allowed. The Detroit Lions came to US Bank Stadium needing a win to keep their playoff hopes alive, and instead they walked into a blizzard orchestrated by one man. The defensive coordinator?
The architect who turned Minnesota's defense into a nightmare for opposing offenses. The name? Brian Flores. And here's why his performance on Christmas Day just made him the most wanted defensive mind in the NFL. Flores didn't just call plays, he called a masterclass. According to Jared Goff himself, the Vikings exploited weaknesses in Detroit's protection by adding an extra rusher repeatedly, creating free runners that the Lions couldn't handle. Goff admitted it after the game. They had a plan to attack that, and it didn't work well enough. That's a veteran quarterback admitting he got out-schemed. Flores' defense forced 2 interceptions, recovered 4 fumbles, and sacked Goff 5 times. They adjusted at halftime through different looks at the Lions, and Detroit couldn't keep up. Goff said it himself.
The Vikings came out in the second half with different stuff, and we didn't do a good enough job adjusting. That's coaching. That's dominance. This isn't just one game. This is the 4th straight win for the Vikings, and the defense has been the driving force behind all of it. Flores' scheme gives players the freedom to be aggressive, to fly around, to keep offenses guessing. Harrison Smith said it best after the game. The way Flores calls it, sets it up, gives us freedom to do different things and keep them guessing. That's a player praising his coordinator for empowering the unit instead of restricting it. Do you think Brian Flores is a top 5 defensive coordinator in the NFL right now? Drop your ranking below. But here's the elephant in the room. Flores' contract with the Vikings expires after this season, and according to NFL insiders, this is a rumor. Multiple teams are already preparing to make a run at him for head coaching positions. The way he's dismantled offenses like Detroit's on national television has turned him into one of the most coveted names in coaching circles. If Flores leaves Minnesota, the Vikings lose the architect of their defensive identity. If he stays, they keep the foundation of what could be a championship-caliber defense. The decision could come in the next few weeks, and it will shape the Vikings' future for years. If you want Brian Flores to stay in Minnesota, smash that like and let ownership know. And if you believe this defense can be top 5 in the NFL next season with Flores at the helm, comment Flores stays below. But as dominant as Flores has been, there's one more wrinkle.
The Vikings face the Green Bay Packers in Week 18, and there's a question hanging over the game. Will J.J. McCarthy be healthy enough to play? Kevin O'Connell said after the Christmas win that McCarthy is doing well, but it all comes down to grip strength and his ability to throw the football. O'Connell would love to give McCarthy one more opportunity this year, but if he can't go, it's Max Hall learning what it takes to win games in different ways. That decision will define how the Vikings close out the season. Stay locked. The conclusion is about to tie it all together. 3 stories, 1 heartbeat. Justin Jefferson delivering brutal honesty to the Lions while challenging his own offense to be better. Harrison Smith possibly playing his final games in purple after 13 seasons of legendary service. Brian Flores orchestrating a defensive masterpiece that has the entire NFL watching. Minnesota doesn't fear the end of the season. Minnesota is the statement. This franchise just proved that even when the playoffs are out of reach, the Vikings will burn down anyone standing in their way. Let's break down what this means for the future. If the Vikings can keep Brian Flores and build around this defensive identity, Green Bay's offense will struggle. Detroit's playoff hopes will crumble again, and Chicago will stay 3 years behind. The North doesn't run through Lambeau anymore. It runs through US Bank Stadium. The defense forced 6 turnovers on Christmas Day, the 4th straight win, and the momentum heading into next season is real. But here's the brutal reality. Harrison Smith might not be back.
At 37 years old, with salary cap issues looming, the Vikings might have to say goodbye to one of the greatest safeties in franchise history. That's the cost of building a championship roster. If Smith retires, Minnesota loses a leader, a culture setter, and a legend. But if he returns at a reduced rate, the Vikings keep the heartbeat of their defense for one more ride. The choice might not even be theirs. Here's what I need from Viking Nation. 1. Smash that like if you believe the Vikings just sent a message to the entire NFC North. 2. Drop a comment with your boldest prediction. Does Harrison Smith retire? Does Brian Flores leave for a head coaching job? Or do both stay and lead this defense to a top 5 ranking next season? 3. Subscribe, because every single subscriber makes Packers fans furious, and we're about to own the division narrative heading into next year.
But listen closely. Here's the edge of the cliff. Brian Flores' contract expires after this season, and insiders say at least 3 teams are preparing head coaching offers. If he leaves, the Vikings lose the architect of this defensive revolution. That decision could drop in the next 2 weeks. And on top of that, there's a rumor that J.J. McCarthy's injury might keep him out of the Packers game, which means the Vikings close the season with a backup quarterback against their biggest rival. Does Kevin O'Connell risk McCarthy's long-term health for one more game, or does he shut him down and let the defense carry the load? Plus, the Packers just activated their star pass rusher off injured reserve, and he's hungry to ruin Minnesota's 5-game win streak. Which domino falls first? McCarthy's return or Green Bay's revenge? That story drops next. Skull Nation, the war is here. Hit subscribe, stay locked, and let's make the NFC North bleed purple. We ride together. See you in the next battle.